Hello, my name is Truman and I love reviewing old Hollywood films. Today's film we will be reviewing Ziegfeld Girl, the 1941 musical drama directed by Robert Z. Leonard, starring James Stewart, Judy Garland, Lana Turner, and Hedy Lamarr. Da-da! Da-da! Ziegfeld Girl is less a movie than it is a jeweled music box, ornate, melancholy, and glittering with the illusion of American glamour. Beneath the towering feathered headdresses and impossibly elegant musical numbers lies a surprisingly bittersweet story about ambition and the price of being adored. MGM presents show business as both a fantasy and a machine, one capable of turning ordinary women into luminous stars just as quickly as it can consume them. With performances from Judy Garland, Lana Turner, and Hedy Lamarr, the film becomes a showcase not only of talent and beauty, but of the fragile humanity hidden beneath the spectacle. Follies were these massive Broadway revues created by Florence Ziegfeld Jr. in the early 1900s. Basically, the blueprint for modern celebrity glamour. Think gigantic staircases, impossible costumes, synchronized dancers, feathers, sequins, and women presented like living works of art. But underneath all the sparkle, the Follies were also about selling fantasy femininity. Ziegfeld famously wanted his chorus girls to look elegant, ethereal, and almost unreal, which heavily influenced how Hollywood later photographed women in the MGM era. So when you watch Ziegfeld Girl, you're not just watching an MGM musical, you're watching Hollywood mythologize the very system that taught America how to worship beauty. Lana Turner's character Sheila is perhaps the clearest embodiment of that split identity. After being discovered, she is elevated from ordinary working life into glamour, but the transformation creates distance between herself and the people who knew her before the fantasy began. Her success in the Follies becomes isolating rather than liberating. The luxury and attention feels intoxicating, and in time she becomes intoxicated by it, having the worst fate in the movie. Think Valley of the Dolls. With Hedy Lamarr's Sandra, the tragedy is quieter. She never appears fully seduced by fame itself. Hedy carries this quiet confidence of a woman who sees the sequins and feathers as merely a means to an end. Her entrance into the Follies is almost accidental, secondary to supporting her violinist husband. What makes her story painful is that the industry immediately values her image over his musicianship, her beauty at times garnering her unwanted attention from men, creating rifts in her relationship. Damned by her own beauty, the film turns beauty into a kind of displacement. Her presence is unintentionally eclipses the artistic ambition of her partner that brought them there in the first place. Judy Garland's Susan carries the truest version of the discovery narrative, her audition in the film mirroring Garland's own MGM experience, which gives the storyline an autobiographical sting. The vaudeville act with her father represents a shared artistic identity, but the Follies system fractures it because only she is marketable. Success demands separation. The father-daughter act can't survive the machinery of stardom. Sheila sacrifices authenticity and stability. Sandra sacrifices marital balance and artistic equality, while Susan sacrifices family, partnership, and innocence. The women are adored, celebrated, and elevated visually, but emotionally each narrative moves towards loss. That tension is why Ziegfeld Girls feels more dramatic than celebratory. Despite all the lavish musical spectacle, a glamorous lesson about the cruelty that fame and beauty can bring. And what makes Ziegfeld Girl even more fascinating is that the original cast wasn't this cast. Joan Crawford as well as Eleanor Powell were initially connected to the project, which makes perfect sense because nobody embodied MGM ambition and glamour quite like Joan. But by the early 1940s, the studio system was already starting to shift away from those stars. MGM was slowly replacing the older queens with newer, softer stars. Enter Lana Turner, who was becoming the studio's new fantasy woman. It's kind of meta watching the movie knowing it exists right at the moment old Hollywood was changing guard. The sharp survivalist glamour of Joan Crawford was giving way to this dreamier, more ethereal femininity represented by Hedy Lamarr and Lana Turner. And then there's Judy Garland in the middle of it all, bringing this devastating emotional realism that almost feels too raw for the MGM fantasy. The film becomes this accidental time capsule, a movie about beautiful women being consumed by fame, made during the exact moment Hollywood itself was consuming and replacing its own stars. And the most heartbreaking layer of Ziegfeld Girl might honestly be Judy Garland herself. There's a scene where her character auditions, nervous, vulnerable, desperate to be chosen, and it eerily mirrors Judy's real-life audition for Metro. Unlike the icy perfection MGM usually promoted, Judy was never marketed as untouchably glamorous. Unfairly, the studio constantly compared her appearance to stars like Lana Turner and Hedy Lamarr, women framed as effortlessly beautiful. But Judy had something the others didn't: talent, and plenty of it. When she sings in this film, it feels like the performance is more of a lived emotion. In fact, behind the scenes, the cast was always close by on set whenever Judy would sing. You can almost feel the studio trying to reshape her into a polished MGM star while her real vulnerability keeps breaking through the cracks of the MGM facade. And that's why her scenes hit so differently. The audition isn't just acting, it's Judy reenacting the beginning of the machine that would eventually consume her, which makes Ziegfeld Girl feel strangely self-aware, a movie about women becoming spectacles starring actresses who were living that reality in real time. Costumes incredible. They were designed by Adrian Rudolph Greenberg, the Adrian. The man understood that women in film should look as if they were sculpted into being, dressed by fantasy, adorned in starlight itself. The choreography by Robert Alton turns every performance into this swirling fantasy of feminine glamour and desire. It's all feathers, headpieces, longing ambition, and women's whose beauty was as dangerous as it was breathtaking. And honestly, the movie isn't just about showgirls. It's about the cost of beauty, the loneliness of being worshipped, the way women are turned into spectacle while trying to hold on to themselves. Every frame feels like it's asking what happens when being adored becomes a performance, when the only gratification one receives is from the stage. Cinematography worships these women in a way that feels deeply queer, not male gaze beautiful, mythological beautiful, untouchable, sacred, like nobody has ever looked the way Hedy Lamarr looked ascending those stairs. I'm serious. She ascended in that moment. Literally. Hollywood really said suffering sequence and fame induce sorrow, but make it fabulous. I think Ziegfeld Girl is a beautiful relic of the past, marrying the glamour of the 1900s Ziegfeld act with the budget and opulence that MGM afforded. The stars are the true heartbeat of the movie, and I think it's worth a watch. It's honestly a great movie to put on in the background. A bit long, but full of beautiful visuals. The costumes, the glamour, the sets that seem fantasized rather than constructed. Some segments are obviously outdated, and some of the character choices I feel were a bit too of the time, but regardless, I think the movie is just like Hedy Lamarr, Lana Turner, and Judy Garland. Beautiful. A beautiful MGM dream of a time that never truly existed. Simply fantasy with a realistic battle. My life. Beautiful MGM dream of a time that never truly existed. Simply fantasy with a realistic battle of oneself and stardom. This movie has stuck out to me simply from the visuals alone. I mean, Hedy Lamarr ascending that staircase has embedded in my soul, and nonchalance and the quiet confidence that she carried in that one scene resonated with me so hard that I still think about it to this day. I mean, her not caring about the man, her slightly just side-eyeing him, I love it. And I want to give honorable mention to Rosario and Antonio, who did this amazing flamenco dance in one of the segments. I mean, this is probably one of the best flamenco performances I've seen on film. And it creates this hypocrisy. It's so interesting because this movie has Minnie from Trinidad, which is this outdated, problematic segment with Judy Garland, but in the same segment you also have Rosario and Antonio giving probably the best flamenco performance I've ever seen on film. It just reiterates to me that, like, these movies, as outdated and as problematic as they can be, there is some beauty and some art that needs to be appreciated still to this day. Thank you for watching. I will try and do more of these. Leave a comment, tell me what movies you were obsessed with, tell me what segments you're obsessed with. Leave a comment, and yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you again. Bye.